Hi there, welcome to this build of a 20-inch wingspan rubber powered Noctule. Now this is a really quirky design by a British designer called Peter Fisher, but it's very characteristic of the models that he did design. Now we're going to get this finished in this video. You can see it's a pretty advanced stage. We've got the rubber motor done, we've got the fin, we've got the prop. There's very little to do on this now other than to pull it all together, and like I say, we're going to get this finished, trust me. So we haven't stuck the fuselage on it yet, so that will be one of the last things we do, is to just stick that on top of the wings. And we've also got the fin, and that needs to be just stuck onto the back of the fuselage. But I'm going to put those to one side with the rubber motor and the prop. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to fit these two Elevons, which are 1/16 balsa. We need to fit these to the wing. Now on the plans, we're building this from a great set of plans which were published in Aero Modeler in March 1988, and if you have a look in the description below this video, there'll be a link to the article and the plans. Now these, on the plans it says that these need to have a negative incidence, so they need to be pointing up 21 degrees. Now, and they're used to trim the model, so you could want to be able to just move them slightly, just tweak them to be able to get a nice curve or whatever you want, whether you want it to go straight or round in circles. Now that presents a little bit of an issue because we don't want to just cover these and stick them on with super glue or CA, because then we're not going to be able to adjust them. So I've come up with an idea of how we can fix these on so they're nice and secure, they don't move in flight, but we can adjust them. So let's have a look at that and then we'll get it done. Okay, so the solution I've got is I've cut myself some steel hinges which I've cut out of this old mustard tin. It's just thin steel, just used a pair of snips to cut them out, and I've just smoothed off the edges and taken off the corners, and now I've got myself 4 hinges. Now these will allow those Elevons to be firm where we put them, but will it also allow us to bend the steel to just adjust them very slightly. Now we need to think about how we're going to secure these hinges. The wood on the trailing edge of this wing is 1/8 thick, and I'm quite happy that I can put a slot, this is 1/8 balsa, I can put a slot and I can just insert the hinge in without any problem. This is what I did earlier, and you can see there we could just effect a change in that to adjust them. Now this is going into 1/16 balsa, and I did experiment with using a scalpel and whether I could put a slot in 1/16 scalpel. I can certainly do it in this 1/8, just a scalpel like this. It's quite easily done if we're just very careful. You can see I've just done that very roughly. So there we go, we can just put that in and we can CA that, rough it up, clean it up, and then CA it in place. Doing it in 1/16 is a little problematic. It's like I say, I have done it, but it's not the easiest. So I experimented with just sticking the hinge on the underside of the Elevon like that. Obviously we'd spray it afterwards so we didn't have the yellow, and that can provide a really secure fitting. This is part of what I tested to destruction, where I actually glued a piece of the metal with CA onto 1/16 balsa, and I ended up, see, I've just pulled that off and it's actually breaking the balsa. It's not taking the balsa off the hinge, it's just stripping the balsa. So that is a really strong and effective way of fitting these hinges. So I'm going to glue on 2 hinges like that. I'm then going to spray the Elevon, cover it in the red tissue, quick coat of dope, and then I'm going to put some slots in the back of there, and then I will just feed that in and CA it again, and that will give us a really good adjustable Elevon, I think, and plenty strong enough. So I will get these Elevons done first. I think I'll do those first and then I'll cut the slots once I've got these glued on. So I'm going to glue them on, spray them up and cover them. When I say spray them, I'm just going to do them in this kind of aluminium kind of colour, which is it's an acrylic spray paint models for, and it says it does wood. So is that the one I'm going to use? Oh no, sorry, I've got the wrong one. This is the one I'm going to use. That's something I've used before. So it's there. That's what I'm going to be using. But it is for wood as much as plastic and other materials. So I'll get those done and then we'll have a look. Okay, a very slight change of plan. I've done the hinges. I've just put some tape on when I sprayed them. If I just take that off here, you can see. Didn't want to actually spray finish the hinges that I'm going to CA into the wing, but I have left just a little bit of a gap which might show when they're in. Now, as I say, I've sprayed these, but I've also given them a coat of dope, the 50/50 dope that I used on the fuselage. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to leave them like that. Why spend time covering them? I think they'll look really nice in that colour, and that colour is kind of brought through here in the tissue, and it's the same colour as underneath. So I think that'll look fine. I don't think that will look out of place at all. And if we put the fuselage on there, we can see. Yeah, I think I'm going to be happy with that. Why waste time with the tissue and that? And I'm slightly concerned if I put tissue on and it shrinks, it may take these out of being straight. They might end up with a little bit of curve, which the dope hasn't done because I doped both sides together, and it seems to have dried nice and straight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the slots in as I showed you earlier with the scalpel, and then we will get these glued in. Oh, I've also made a 21-degree lift so that, oops, let's take that off. I can put this flat on the bench. I think you can still see that. Put that flat on the bench, and then I can set these at the correct angle. But we'll come back and have a look at that. Right, well, I've got that one done now. I've got the slots cut, and I thought I'd just show you how I'm going to do this one. So I've lined up the Elevon, marked where the slots need to be. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rest this against the side of my bench there to hold that nice and firm. And I'm just going to put my fingers, or my finger and thumb, where the two slots need to be put. And if I just start off, let's do this one, with just a very nice gentle line down the centre. We don't want to go mad with this, just nice and gentle, just to get that started. Looking at the blade all the time to make sure that it's vertical. And now we're just going to stick that in and just slice that along like that. Just need to be really careful. Right, we've got that one done. Now we're doing this one. Again, just nice and gentle. And now we can push that vertically in with our fingers on the side here. If it's going to come out the side, we'll soon find out. But no, if we've got it nice and vertical, it should be fine. So there we go. We've got those two slots. Am I still in camera? Yep. I'll tell you what, I'll move the camera a little bit because I can't orientate this to do it properly. Let me just move it. Okay, so now we've got those two slots. We've got the Elevon the right way around, and we're just going to slot those in. I mean, these pieces of steel are lovely and thin, and we'll just gently push them home. We don't want to go too mad. And there we go. We need to have a little bit of a gap so that we can adjust them, bend them up as needed, and just as we would on a typical aileron. There we go. I think that is going to be enough. Now I'm going to CA these and then we can adjust them. And as I said earlier, is that in shot? Yeah, we'll put that flat on the table. We can even just put a little bit of a weight on it if necessary. And then we can just gradually bend these up until we've got them at the angle of our 21 degrees. In fact, yeah. What we need to do though, as I found out when I was messing about with my trial ones, is if we hold the balsa and bend it, it's just going to snap off. This was a bigger piece. So we need to pinch the hinges like this and bend at the hinges. Try bending out here in the balsa, like I say, they're just going to snap. So I'll get these glued and then we'll set them up. Right, well I've done this Elevon, I've glued it and I've set it. I haven't glued or set that one. And what I did is, let's put it around this way, I just put it on the desk. Well actually no, first of all, sorry, let me just show you with this one. Because these hinges, I said about you have to bend at the hinges, what I'm doing is I'm just gripping the metal and I'm just bending and then bending just a little bit to get that more than it needs to be. Right, now I've done that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that flat on the bench, and hopefully you can see that okay. And then I'm just using this. Now that has gone too much, which is fine. Just need to come around this side. So what we can do is we can press on here, press on this trailing edge, and then press on the hinge on the Elevon. Just give that a tweak down. And now that may be right, or I may have gone too far. Yeah, I've gone too far, so we need to just bend it up a little bit. And I decided to do this before I actually glued them in, just to, well, in case there was a problem, I guess, and they weren't, you know, so they weren't glued in. Now that there is spot on. So I just cut the point off my block, so it fitted in a little bit better. Let me just check that again. Yeah, it could perhaps do with a very slight amount, but you know, maybe it doesn't need to be 100% accurate, although that's lovely. And because as soon as we start test gliding this, I suspect we're going to need to adjust them a little bit. And now all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of CA on that back edge there, and that will hold them. So there we go, we've got our Elevons done. I quite like them in that grey finish. So now we need to start thinking about getting the fuselage glued into position. And I think I'm going to glue the fuselage in position before the fin, because if I put the fuselage, I would like to have the fin vertical, obviously. Now if I put the fuselage on slightly crooked, it's not brilliant, but at least we can still put the fin on upright if we then put the fin on last. If we put the fin on square to the fuselage, but then the fuselage is slightly off, we're going to tell with the fin. I think that's possibly the best way to go. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up as best I can on the fuselage, and we can see the centre line of the fuselage underneath, and I'm just going to glue this in a couple of strategic places, front and back, with some thin CA to hold it, make sure I'm happy with it, and then I will run some thicker CA down the length at some strategic points to make sure it's glued. So I'll get that done now. Well, look at this. It's almost finished. I mean, it looks finished, but it is almost finished. And I'm really pleased with it. It's looking great. There is one fly in the ointment though. I've got no wheels. I ordered some wheels from who I order most of my stuff from, and the order came, I ordered just some 25mm free flight little plastic light wheels. The order came without the wheels. Now, I'm not going to mention the company involved because I really like them and they normally do an exceptionally good service. So this is just kind of a blip. So I still haven't got any wheels. I've contacted them and I haven't got any wheels still. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some. I've got this carbon fibre sheet, which I think is 1mm. Let's have a look. Oh no, sorry, it is 1/2 mil. 1/2 mil thick. I really don't want to wait for the wheels. I want to get this finished. So I've got this 1/2 mil thick carbon fibre sheet. And I've cut out a 25mm disc from it. And because it's so thin, where are my scissors? You can actually cut it with scissors, if you can find your scissors, which, well, isn't that interesting? Oh, here they are, right in front of me. You can actually cut it. It cuts quite well. And I've got a hole template, so I've put a 1" or a 25mm hole template over it and just drawn around, and then I've cut this out and sanded it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to laminate between a couple of pieces of balsa. I'll just use a bit of super glue. I'll cut that out, sand it, and then I'll just profile it a little bit with one of my sanding sticks, just to give it a little bit of a rounded feel on the edges. And then we need to put in a kind of about a 1.2mm hole, and we can just fix these on. It's interesting, I was looking at the CG, and the CG is about spot on. So, which is quite nice, shows it was designed well, which all of Peter Fisher's planes seem to be designed absolutely spot on. So I don't really want to add much weight on these wheels, so I'm hoping that it won't make a lot of difference. I can always bend the landing gear back a little bit, so it's not quite as they're not quite as far forward and as prominent. So I'll get these wheels made, and in the meantime the postman will probably bring my others, but I don't want to wait. So we'll have a look once we've got the wheels done. Well, I've now got the wheels made, and I don't know whether that'll focus, but I've just, like I say, I laminated that piece of carbon fibre, and then with a couple of pieces of 1/16 balsa either side, and I've drilled a hole in, and I threaded them on a bit of rod just to spray them up. I don't know whether, hopefully that is focusing. Sometimes it doesn't focus very well closely. But all I need to do now is just slip these on, and then I need to trim the axles a little bit because they are too long. And then what I'm going to do to hold them on is I'm just going to put a little blob of hot glue on the end of the axle there, and that will hold it on. If I bend it up, I might break it because it's music wire. Probably won't break it bending it up, but I'll certainly break it, possibly anyway, I would think, when if I want to replace the wheels and I bend it straight. So anyway, let's get that hot glue on and then we'll have a look. Well, we've now got our Noctule finished, and I'm really pleased with it. I've really enjoyed building this, a really quirky little thing. Now what we've got to do is see how heavy it is. So I'm going to get out the scales and a kitchen roll, and we'll get this thing weighed. On the plans it says that it should be 1 ounce, which is 28 grams. So I have worked to try and keep the weight down. Hopefully you can see that. That's on 0 at the moment with this kitchen towel on, and I can just put the plane on there. 26 grams, lovely. Coming in just below the target weight of 1 ounce. That is really, really good. Hopefully this thing is going to fly nicely. Well, all we need now is some nice calm days, maybe a little bit of a gentle breeze and a nice blue sky to get this out and to see how it glides. The CG has come in more or less spot on, I think, which you'd kind of expect. It's kind of difficult to tell really, but I think that is about right. One of the things about this that I've realised is actually I'm not sure how I'm going to hand launch it for a glide. If I'm there, I'm a little bit too far forward and I've got the wings in the way. I think I'm going to have to be launching it like that. I don't think I can do it underarm. I think that'll just be a bit awkward. But anyway, I'm going to draw this video to a close now, and in the next video we'll be out in the field test gliding this and hopefully getting a little bit of powered flight. But we'll see how it glides first. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed seeing this come together, this lovely 20-inch rubber powered Noctule by Peter Fisher. Thanks very much for watching.